Hello, good evening, and welcome to the 4th episode of the Dark-Sided Podcast. My name is Rogue, of course. Joining me are Deadline, Steve, and special guest Wazminator. We missed him out on the last week, but was replaced with wonderful Jack Dad. If you haven't had a chance to check out that episode, make sure to go have a look at it after this. You can find it, of course, on our YouTube. But enough about that. Let's get into today. Wazminator, our special guest. Thank you so much for joining us, man. How are you feeling today, mate?
I'm feeling very good. I'm happy I finally actually got the chance to make it out here because last week, got the L, couldn't make it on. So
it was the week before, right? No, it was the week before when Benji.
Yeah, it was the week before.
We had to salvage that.
So yeah, finally, it happened. It's actually a thing now.
To reevaluate, think about what you've done, come back again.
Make sure.
I definitely learned my lesson.
Was on.
I learned my lesson.
Good to have you on, Waz. But before we get too far into it, Steve, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, it's been doing good. It's been a busy day for me. Yeah, looking forward to the good part, which is the podcast.
Yeah. I like that fresh hat you're copping, mate. Donning that one today. Looking good.
Team
good.
WP.
Glasses as well. Do you want to give us a show?
Yeah.
How do they look on, mate? How do they look on?
How do they look on? I'll put them on. Hang on. Like a true nerd.
Oh my god.
What a heartthrob.
Daddy.
Heartthrob. Lady.
I do that. Can I do the anime villain thing?
First he posts that modeling photo on Twitter. Now he's wearing the
You do
glasses.
that one a lot. Deadline, you wear glasses, right? And obiously Waz is wearing glasses. Do you do the anime villain?
I definitely do that a lot.
Look, mate, I'm going to start doing it
I'm
now.
not even joking. I actually do that.
Deadline, man. Bring the spectacles back out. We need some of that anime villain in the chat. Deadline, my man, you've been doing a lot of behind-the-scenes work for the podcast and haven't been on the last 2 weeks. You want to tell us a little bit about how that turn of events came to fruition?
Yeah, so sort of been coasting it back a little bit, working on some of the more nuanced parts of the podcast, some of the logistics, and I don't know, I thought, you know what, let's put a face to what's actually going on, because some people they get sick and they can't be bothered on podcasts. So I'm going to stick by my guns and actually show up. So
yep. So poor Matt is under the weather a little bit, so feel free to tweet him some get well soon messages and make sure that he knows that we all love him here at Darkside, of course, on the podcast. We're going to be missing him very much and hope that he's feeling better for his class tomorrow and of course the podcast next week. But let's delve deep. Wazminator, you're the man of the hour, so I want to have a little bit of chat about your last year under Darksided. So let's start off with the huge win at BAM.
Alright, so BAM, I've been in FGC for like 2 or 3 years almost now, so going to BAM was like my second BAM, and I got pretty much bodied at the one before that. So going back last year, I really wanted to actually win it, so I knew for sure that I couldn't sleep on anyone that I was going to be there. Because the BAM previously, I was like kind of underestimating like my opponents because that was my first major. So like I went into this next BAM thinking like don't underestimate anyone. This is like, just play your game. Don't get too in your head. And that was way more. I was way more experienced by that BAM as well. So that's probably a big reason to why.
Mortal Kombat days, correct?
Yeah, still Mortal Kombat. So that was what got me into the FGC in the first place.
Yeah, interesting. And Steve, there was a lot of action going on at BAM 9 last year. Tell us a little bit about your experiences there as well.
Yeah, you're right. It was a big weekend. Obviously, at the time, I was still the fighting game manager for Darksided, so I had a lot of responsibility. Didn't live up to it, as per usual.
No.
The boys. But no, we ran around. We had a lot of fun. We got to, meet a bunch of new faces, and we also got to see like everyone supporting us. I think it was the first major was played on the Darksided. It was a victory for him too, so that was pretty special. I think we had Spud debuting for us as well that weekend, who won Melee, and of course last year at BAM, it was the CPT year, so there was like a lot of Street Fighter going on. So it was a big weekend, and huge event, and like you said, a lot of fun. Great to see Waz take out that first place finish, and like you said, it was kind of Mortal Kombat coming first there that really like set your name in stone as the best Mortal Kombat player in Australia. So of course we know that with NRS games, it kind of transitions from Mortal Kombat to Injustice, right? So with Injustice 2 on the horizon, tell me how you thought about that game coming off Mortal Kombat.
So yeah, going into Injustice 2, I had no previous Injustice experience like whatsoever. So I definitely was like mad conditioned from what I learned from MKX. So coming into Injustice, like I didn't really know what to expect at all. So
Yeah.
it was pretty much just like, hey, this is a completely new game. Like you have to learn everything from the start again.
And I kind of want to like get really deep onto that, because that was one of the things, right?
Yeah.
You're coming off Mortal Kombat as the #1, the clear and far away best player, and then you're onto Injustice, and you kind of hit your slump, right? Tell us about the mentality you have to go in coming off a slump, or coming into a slump rather.
Yeah, so coming from MKX, like you said, I was probably the best player at the time. So I guess I kind of got used to being at the top, and
Yeah.
going into Injustice, I definitely expected to like stay up there. And then once I started to lose like a lot, actually, I lost a few tournaments in a row. I started to realize like, wait a second, like back it up. You have to put in the work again. It's not gonna be a free ride. Like, yeah, actually, you have to work really hard to get back up there and stay up there.
And it wasn't just like bad results. You come in still like top 2, top 3, right? But
Yeah.
when you're used to getting that #1, that's all you're striving after. So
Yeah,
we had
yeah.
a little bit of a rivalry forming. Who was that against?
So Castiel, he was definitely like my rival. Even in MKX, like we were training partners pretty much for all of that, and even in Injustice, it was the same thing. So constantly losing to him, definitely, it was like it made me salty. Like every tournament, I just like wanted to beat him. It wasn't the fact that I was losing so much; it was just because it's like it was him, and I knew like we always had that rivalry from the start. So yeah, it was really frustrating always losing to him, but it definitely had a good like. It was definitely a good way to get me motivated to really put in that work and beat him.
Oh yeah, for sure. And rivalries are like super healthy for competition. Wouldn't you agree?
Definitely. Some rivalries maybe not so much, but that one in particular was definitely a really like good way to motivate both of us, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
we all
rivalry-
know.
That rivalry was like one of the best that I've seen come out of the Australian FGC. Like I've been involved with FGC for like I think it's my 8th year, and I've seen things come and go, right? But that rivalry was like one of the best things that happened to the scene. I think it really like was driven by the Injusta League, so the online
Yeah.
Injustice 2 League by
Oh,
Gamester, because we got to see players on a monthly basis, like not just like it was kind of handy that Blake, Castiel, and were in Sydney for YSB every month. But we also got that extra dose of it during the Injusta League. And yeah, I think that was like, it was one of the greatest things of the year for me, was to watch that rivalry grow and the ebb and flow of victory and like momentum and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely,
I mean,
yeah.
it was a lot of fun to watch in Deadline. You did a lot of the socials back then, so you were following those games like every single week. Tell us a little bit about, seeing Castiel just like go ahead and Waz is kind of faltering in the middle. Like, how's, big dark side supporter, how that makes you feel?
Yeah, for sure. Like it's pretty much, it's been a pretty wild ride, like with all that in hindsight, because like you look back on it and there was just so many nights where it's like, okay, grand final, this is it, guys. Like we're gonna see Waz.
Catwoman versus Batman.
Yep, it's gonna be the one, guys. But actually, I wanna roll the clock back a little bit, because you were sort of talking a little bit, was like, this is actually something that always been popping in my head like all throughout last year, really, is that you sort of had like a bit of dominance with MKX and stuff, and then in Justice there was more rivalry. Can you sort of explain to me, like in like a layman's way, why that might be a little bit more, like the actual mechanics of the game? Or
I think it was I don't think it was the game in particular. I think it was just the mindsets that Blake and I had at the time.
Right.
So in MKX, Blake definitely, like, at least towards the end, he definitely didn't really care about the game. He never really liked it as a game. He kind of just played it just to do something, like just have fun with it. And then Injustice came around, and he definitely enjoyed it way more than MKX, which made him put in a lot more work. Which is why in MKX the rivalry wasn't as noticeable, because he just didn't put in as much work, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I think it's safe to say Injustice has played a huge part in like not only your life but also your career as a professional gamer, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like Injustice made me like see so many different things instead of just like the tunnel vision I used to have.
Yeah, and then coming off that underwhelming performance at OHN, what was the mindset like then? I really want to like get your opinion on that, because that was probably your lowest point, wouldn't you say?
Definitely, yeah. After OHN, cause going into OHN, I put in a lot of work. Like,
let's tell a story. What actually happened to OHN? Let's give them all the details here.
So, if anyone doesn't know, OHN made it into top 8 winners, and then I just lost both my games in winners. I didn't. It was really close in the first winners final, but I just lost both my games then. So 0-2 in top 8, and that was definitely like a heartbreaker. Going into winners in top 8, it's definitely like a really good feeling. And then the next day going 0-2 was probably like one of the worst feelings I've ever had in tournament so far. Especially because like, oh sorry, go on, Steve.
No, I was gonna say. So you played Baxter in the opening round of top 8, right?
It was actually Coltrane first, and then I played
Coltrane playing Poison Ivy? Yeah,
Yep.
That's right. And he played like a really like slow zoning style, which it can be really frustrating when you want to be like that rush down mix up Catwoman in your face, in and out, because she's very nimble, right? You want to use that movement. And he's just trying to slow the game down, and I think the crowd was like just going nuts for the chip, because like the is it like the little summon, the plant?
She like her trait just shoots like chip like these little green balls at you, and it just chips you out.
Yeah, so they were going nuts for the chip, and I could tell that like you can tell when players are getting frustrated, and obviously it is frustrating to be like slowed down and chipped out and feel like you have no control. So you lost that game, right? And that's kind of frustrating. Do you think that played like much of a factor on then losing to Baxter in
100%? Like if I won that first game and then I had to fight Baxter, I think I would have won. But after I lost that first game, my mindset was like I could have lost it. I would have lost to anyone at that point, because like I was so like discouraged at that point, and and then I didn't get a chance to really like gather my mind, because as soon as I lost, I pretty much had to play again. There was no match in between. So
and Baxter was out for blood, right? In terms of mind games, I saw him set up on the stage, and then he just randomly leaves the stage and gets like a drink out of his bag. I think it was like an energy drink. I think it was like Monster or a Red Bull. And he goes up to the stage and he just cracks this energy drink, goes to sit back down, and then just swoops over and puts the energy drink down for Waz and gives it to him. And he's like just getting in your mind like before the game even started. During like character select, when I think he was playing Blake later, he accidentally selected Gorilla Grodd. Was it Gorilla?
Yeah, Gorilla Grodd.
Yeah, Grodd, and had to like go back to character select because he was just like messing around, like selecting random heroes and then backing out. So he was playing like the mind games all weekend, and you had to face that after quite a crushing loss, I guess.
You're already in like the bad mindset, right?
Yeah,
like,
so I was already like you said, I was already super tilted, and then like Baxter's like I didn't really care about it too much, but it definitely played a little bit of a part. Like comparing, like I was already pretty messed up anyway, so. Definitely didn't help.
Yeah. But look, we all know how the Injustice career ended. Waz on top. I think Blake bowed out of that rivalry later on down the track as you proceeded to stomp him in pretty much every game following suit. You really put on the, you took off the weights, man. You dropped them on the floor, and your Rock Lee was ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, I just want to mention, like going into OHN, I still didn't feel comfortable in the game whatsoever. Like I was still pretty much lost for the most part. I finally had a character that I was stuck with, but I still didn't. So many things I wasn't aware of, so much knowledge I didn't have, and like especially just outside of the game, my mindset was like horrible. So definitely played a part in why I lost OHN.
No, for sure. And kind of going back into Injustice, it's been a long time since then. How comfortable are you with the game now? You still 100% set on Catwoman?
Yeah, so far 100% on Catwoman. I probably won't play another character, but I do try a few others, like just for fun or just to see how they go. But in terms of like the game mechanics, I feel super comfortable now. Like I know how the game works now. I know like what options I'm meant to use. Like instead of sort of relying on what I knew from MKX, I've completely got that out of my head, and now it's all like stuff that I've learnt through Injustice.
Awesome, it's great to hear. And talking a little bit about characters, we see the latest addition to the Injustice roster. Tell us a little bit about the Ninja Turtles, Waz. What do you think about that?
So when I saw the announcement, I was pretty excited. Like they look pretty cool, and I know it's going to bring a lot of casuals in for sure. But as soon as I started playing them, I realized that I'm not a super huge like TMNT fan. And in terms of like gameplay, I don't think they're super fun or anything, but I can see why.
Do they fit into like the system and stuff, or
they definitely
does it
work,
just look
like
janky? Like
NRS did a really good job on like making them all work, because they're all separate characters anyway. So they did a really good job on like putting them in. But just in terms of the way I like to play, I just don't really enjoy playing them, to be honest. But I can see why casuals really like playing them, and just like especially watching them is definitely fun, but just playing them just doesn't give me that like satisfaction that I get with other characters.
Fair enough. You a big Ninja Turtle fan at all, Deadline? Matty?
Oh, look, I watch a little bit here and there. I think it's just a little bit
too
too
amaze
old.
us with some like crazy
No,
lore
I don't
knowledge
like the
about
lore.
I think it's just past my time. Just like at a point where I was like, clocked over. Like,
I think it was
the
even
Thomas the
still
Tank
like
Engine,
pushing on my time, really. I don't remember seeing too much TMNT stuff on TV or even the comic books when I was growing up. Steve, what about you, man?
I like the turtles. I think they're cool.
Old man Steve.
Who would you be, Steve? What do we think Steve would be, man? Who's the mild-mannered turtle? The nice guy, man.
Mild-mannered turtle.
I think Steve would be Donatello for sure.
Steve's Donatello?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm Master Shredder or whatever.
Okay.
Master Shredder?
Shredder.
Nah, dude, Deadline Splinter for
Rat.
sure.
I'm straight Splinter.
Is that his name, Splinter?
Yeah, Splinter.
Yeah.
The rat boy. Waz is a pizza. Waz is a pepperoni pizza for sure.
I'm just a pizza.
He's just a pepperoni pizza, man. All the turtles showering down.
It's kind of cool though, right? Like they're still putting more into the game. Like that, it's constantly evolving and that sort of thing. Like has that?
Yeah.
I suppose we don't really know just yet, but do you think that's going to change things for you at all? Or?
I don't think it's going to make a huge impact, but
Yeah.
definitely. I feel like maybe when a bunch of new players come in, hopefully that there's a bunch of matchups we don't really get here in Australia. So hopefully that these turtles like spark some interest there and get some newer players trying to compete with different characters that we don't see as often.
Yeah.
Well, I like that you touched on kind of that newer player base, because I want to talk about the current lifespan of Injustice. So normally, because we mentioned earlier on that these games kind of go in cycles between NRS titles, so how far through Injustice 2's current life cycle are we, Waz?
We're like creeping on a year slowly. Like when BAM comes, that's about a year there.
Yep.
So we're not like super far in, but we're not like early on anymore. So the game's definitely developed a lot. Or like a lot of DLC have came out. So a bunch of new characters, a bunch of tournaments have happened. Like the whole Injustice series already happened once. So in Australia, it's also cool to see MKX is actually still alive here.
Yeah.
In terms of
you're playing it down at
even
live
that
speed.
tournament, yeah. And online as well. Like the player base definitely didn't really go away for MKX.
Cool.
Yeah?
That's good.
Great to see.
Is it still like a very large crossover, being a NRS game? Or are there like MK core players and there's Injustice core players?
Most people will play both. But there is a few players that will just play MK. Like at YSB, there was like 5 or like 3 people that just didn't enter Injustice, but they entered MK.
Sure.
Okay.
Great to see. And kind of going about the life cycle, like what was the highlight in Injustice for you so far, besides beating Blake in the Injustice finals? What was your highlight?
Then that's pretty hard, hey. I think it was probably PAX, to be honest.
Yeah.
PAX was probably like my best like just experience in terms of like my mindset and like everything about that tournament, and that whole weekend was like super beneficial to me, I feel.
So, Deadline, do you want to fill us in a little bit about Injustice at PAX and what type of show was put on and everything like that? Because I didn't get to attend, so I don't know too much about the specifics. But you were there all weekend.
Yeah, so it was actually really cool to see because ESL Australia kind of put together in cooperation with like the developers themselves to actually put on this tournament. It was actually like pretty substantial prize pool from memory. Was it like 10k maybe it was?
It was 20k.
Yeah, 20k.
Yeah, it was 20K,
so like some serious bank.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And yeah, like this was in like the October-November area, so like BAM had already come, OHN, and then sort of that was where we saw you was with like your lull in a sense, and then actually like coming back up. So there's actually a huge arch about like your performance in Injustice even like last year, because there's like, okay, I've come from MKX, like really super high performance. OHM was a bit rocky, and then actually coming in and this massive tournament, big thing right at the end of the year, and yeah, you do. Like I would probably say, like not knowing too much about the fighting game, but just that it seemed to me like one of your best performances, and it was just like a phenomenal event in that way.
Yeah, I think it was definitely my best. Like even though I didn't win, I feel like that to me that was better than winning BAM or like winning SXE. Like that was the best. Even though I got second, it was still like in my eyes like my best performance. Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about that game against Biohazard, because that was the international player that came over, correct?
Yeah. So he came from Canada.
Was that like nothing you'd ever done before?
So he came from Canada with literally like 3 days notice. So no one was really going to be expecting him to come. And yeah, we played a little bit before the tournament, but he was playing a bunch of different characters, and like we played a little bit. Like we played probably like 100 or so games, but the level that he's on is nothing like the level of experience he has is nothing like anyone here has.
Yeah.
So you could definitely see like playing against him was like playing against like literally just like a robot. He's like how fast he adapted was like a super like eye opener for me in terms of like what level the internationals would be at.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Like, and PAX was sorry, this is just a question. How many people did tournament? 64 player cap, right? Or am I?
Yeah, you can't have it.
Yep. Take it from the top, buddy. Take it from the top.
Alright, so the question was, how many people entered the Injustice 2 tournament at PAX?
Yeah.
I think it was capped at 64 players. Is that right? Do you remember?
I don't know if it was capped, but it definitely hit 60 plus. So it was definitely.
So they had a lot of like walk-in players, right? They're
Yeah.
not just like tournament players. They're just like casual players.
Is that pure LAN as well, as in like the event itself? Or...
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's really cool because PAX is gonna have like obviously just a bunch of people who like just like games in general. They're not obviously like almost nobody, like half of them at least wouldn't be competitors. So seeing a bunch of like just random casuals enter was really cool.
Probably one of the best ways too. But I mean, I remember that that series against Biohazard as well, because I think I was taking the flight back to Adelaide, getting ready to like I don't know get back into work or whatever on Sunday, and I remember the stream. It was like he was playing. I don't know the character, the one with the rockets, or no, the one before that.
Oh, maybe. Black Manta, yeah.
Rocket Boy.
Anyway, Bio had been playing this one character the entire tournament, and I think you finally sort of like gathered or like figured out what he was up to with that character, and then you pulled off a round, and then he just changed character, and it was just like back to square one, and he was just like stomping on
definitely
kids all over again. So
did he switch to his main?
Yeah, so he'd been playing Black Manta, which was like a newish sort of character. He wasn't out for super long, and in Australia, literally no one was playing him. Like literally, no one has played him at a good level at that point. So, and we already knew he was like a Bane main, but he definitely didn't play. He didn't play Manta like at all against us in casuals.
Yeah.
So like he knew he didn't have the experience. So obviously, it's really smart on his part not. It's really smart on his part not to give us the opportunity to learn the matchup before we play in a tournament, right?
For sure.
So I think once he realized that, so in winners finals he played Manta and he beat me 3-0, and then he went to in grand finals it was 2-0 and he was still on Manta, and then I took a game and he just went straight to Bane. So I knew like the only thing that I could do was just try and play my own game. Like I couldn't. There was nothing I could really download in that speed of time, because he's already downloaded, because we played a bunch of casuals. I only play one character, and him playing a bunch of different characters definitely like is really smart on his part. Yeah, and it threw me off. Yeah,
for sure.
No.
Cool.
Really?
And it's not like.
Sorry. Before we continue, I just want to everyone that we're taking questions. So if you have any questions for Waz or any of us, feel free to just like throw them in the chat. We'll be definitely like writing them down. I know it's like a little bit of a break here, but we also actually have some XSplit codes to give away. So if your question gets answered, we'll shoot you one of those. You can enjoy some great software.
So make sure to get those questions out if you want to know. Feel free to anything, man. It doesn't have to be on the topic of Waz or Injustice, man. If you just want to know how much Waz benches, man, I bet it's over 100.
And that number will not fit.
What?
I mean, we all saw him lifting that giant trophy at giant check at PAX, man. You know.
Oh, got the big overhead press with that.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, and he even had the lean
That
back.
thing was heavy, man. That thing was heavy.
Yeah, I
Dude,
bet
that
it was.
a big check, dude. And it's not like how'd they fit all the money in there, man?
Dude, I don't know. I got home and I had to change, and I had to like.
You had to cut it
like
open.
scrub it. I had to like scrub it, man.
You just like take that into the
peel
store,
it.
man. Hey, mate, can I get a 10 chicken nugget meal? Here's like my check. Just take a little bit off.
You just cut like a little piece.
Yeah.
Put that thing in the FPOS terminal.
I didn't
give it a big
even take
whipping
it home,
slide.
man. Didn't even take it.
How much did you walk away with?
funny.
5,500.
Oof.
So that was pretty crazy. Yeah.
Pretty wholesome
Big
for
payday.
second place. Yeah.
One of the
Yeah.
highest paying Australian fighting game players in 2017 was.
Yeah.
Dude.
That's
What a
crazy.
Three
league.
winnings. 3 winnings. Maybe who knows what everyone else is getting paid. You know?
3 winnings.
Yeah, but
that's-
look, we have
that's
a question from Spooder Jazzin. What are your future plans for the remainder of Injustice before MK11 drops, Waz?
At the moment, just doing what I'm doing right now, staying on top of my game, you know, trying to stay on top of Oz, and
Yep.
who knows what the future holds, man. I want to see some new people like taking it, you know, pushing it to the next level for all of us that are at the top at the moment. So there's a really good competition here in Australia.
Wonderful. And like, because I know you've been playing a lot in the Gfinity series as well, Street Fighter. How's your Street Fighter coming along? And do you think that maybe is taking away from your Injustice a bit, or is it just enhancing that?
I don't think it's really doing much in terms of my Injustice. Like, at any time, I would pick Injustice over Street Fighter. I'm sort of just dabbling with it at the moment.
Be careful
Trying to
what you say. I'm kidding.
I'm sorry, Capcom, but yeah, I really
Cover my ears
enjoy
while
playing.
wearing headphones.
No, I really enjoy playing Street Fighter, but in terms of like competition, Injustice is still my main priority, so I always put more time into that. But Gfinity is a really good like opportunity for anyone really to just have some fun playing Street Fighter, get some good competition, and who knows? I don't really know what's in the future for Gfinity, but I know they've definitely got some big plans. So especially making into that would be huge.
No, really, really cool.
So you're looking to get drafted by the Sydney something or others?
Definitely,
Sydney
yeah.
Photons
I'm
or
pretty
something.
sure I'm in like the top 20 right now. So
Yeah, boy.
there's only like one more week left, so I'm pretty sure I'm like guaranteed to be drafted at the moment. But I'll
Do you
just keep
have a
entering
plan
until
to deal with Abigail? Yeah.
I'll
Is
play
anyone?
Abigail. Jokes, I don't know. I have no plan. I have no plan for anything in Street Fighter, to be honest. I'm sort of just playing. I'm not taking it super serious or anything. I'm like, I don't want to be too focused on it, but
So we got a question here from Abby, the Beast 151.
Yep.
He wants to know, what was the toughest loss of your career so far? I'm surely you've had one, right? It says if you've, but
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I've
definitely.
seen you lose at least once.
Definitely.
So
Yeah,
do you have
cop
one
L's
that
all the
hit
time
you the
in and out of the
hardest?
game.
Which L have you held for the longest?
Definitely OHN. Like,
Yeah.
dude, I was so heartbroken at OHN because I got 5th the year before, so the second time around I got 5th again, and I was like,
Oh, the 2-time.
yeah, and especially like, you know, a lot of people told me like that tournament, they're like, oh, you're the favorite, yo, you're gonna win, like,
Yeah.
so I was like, man, my head was getting huge. I'm like, all right, this is it, boys, this is easy. And then I lost, and I'm like, I was like so devastated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was tough. I mean, we touched on that recently, but it's nice to hear. Well, not nice to hear, but it solidifies that as kind of the lowest
Yeah.
point in your Injustice.
Definitely.
But I mean, after PAX, you went on to just win a string of different events. You got the Southern Cross Championships. How did that one go for you?
So going into SXC, I was actually kind of worried about Googie because he was playing a lot. He was back in it after PAX, and he definitely has like probably some of the best mental game in the whole like than anyone I've ever seen in like Oz FGC at least, because
Sure.
you know, coming from the background he has, he's definitely got a lot of experience in high pressure situations. So I was definitely a little nervous having to go up against him. So going into like SXC, there was MKX and Injustice there as well. So I definitely put a lot of time into Injustice, not really much into MKX, but I was thankfully lucky enough to take out both of them. And it felt really good as well to beat Backstar. Just going to mention that right now.
Yeah, I'll bet, dude.
You got the revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now
that
you
felt
just
so
got to
good.
put a Red Bull can on his side. Okay. Just right, drink up, bud. Drink up.
So going into SXE also, I just want to mention like after OHN, that's when I started to like completely reevaluate my mindset, like because I knew that my mental game was the reason I kept losing, and so pretty much after OHN, I like had a real hard think about it and like started to focus more on outside of the game than everything inside the game, and that's probably the big reason of why like my success changed from OHN.
What do you mean by outside the game?
Well, like just like my mindset completely, like I didn't put as much pressure on myself. Like if I was trying to have a more clear head, didn't let
So you're like
anything
forcing
really.
yourself to like perform where you didn't feel like you could. Like, is that
I
what you're
feel
trying
like
to say?
I
or-
feel like before like I started doing well, I was like, yeah, I was trying to force myself to do like I was like if I don't do well, like this is just a huge failure. Like, and I would be like super let down. So then like after
Steve,
that,
wind yourself up and then just fall apart if it didn't work out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why I made that change of like, if you lose, you know, you still got something from it. It's like, it's not the end of the world. There's still another tournament. So that's pretty much what's changed completely from OHN, I think.
Okay. So you're not like living on the knife edge anymore.
No, not anymore.
I mean, Steve lives on the knife edge daily, man. Tells you it's not healthy.
The receding hairline, and you know, I'm getting old. My vision's going. I have to wear glasses.
Shakes, man. The shakes on the reg. No, but it has been like a pleasure just kind of watching your career as a player go through its highs and its lows. And you know, playing's not the only thing you do. You do also stream quite a bit. You've been like taking that seriously for what, like a year and a bit now?
Yeah, I've been streaming for like, how long has it been? It's been like a year and a half at least. I didn't take it too serious at first, but once like I got signed with Darkside and I got potted and stuff, I definitely took it a bit more. You know, I definitely wanted to make it a bit, at least a better quality stream, and you know, start to build that community that's there now.
Yeah, dude. Can I get some Waz Van Houtens in the chat?
Well,
Yeah, let me see if you boys.
What are Tassie films? So we've got a question here. Are you going to bring back Tassie films from?
I'm sorry about Tassie. Tassie films. It's never
Hold
going to
on.
return.
Tell me what Tassie films.
Wait. Before Waz tells us, deadline, I want you to guess. What do you think Tassie films are?
Tassie films.
Yeah. Before Waz tells us, I want you to guess. Then what is a Tassie film?
It's exclusively shot skits by Waz in Tasmania only.
All right,
that's pretty specific.
Long shot.
You go.
Well,
what do you think a Tassie film is?
Look, I have a bit of an insight into knowing Taz a little bit, and if I had to guess, I probably think it's some kind of like skate video or series of skate videos. That's my guess. Okay.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I would think it's like a movie night. You jump in the stream, Waz watches a movie, and you just have like a little, you know, viewing party of sorts with some whatever movie.
Okay, so
Waz.
it's not that he's making.
All right.
Yeah. Waz, the floor is yours, my man. What's the Tassie film?
Steve is correct.
Oh,
it was pretty much just like
that. Someone clip that because I can.
Pretty much just like
you can put that on your resume, Steve.
Steve is correct.
No, it's not
correct. Every time my phone rings.
Yeah, it was pretty much just like a YouTube channel that me and my friends like used to just put a bunch of skating videos on, because I used to be like super into like filmmaking and like just making videos with my friends before I got into like the whole FGC thing.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
I wonder if we
What's
can
your favorite skateboard
dig one
trick,
up.
man? That from Dynasty.
You definitely won't be able to dig one up, but I will shoot us a lot.
Damn, you
you
can't
won't.
provide us with one.
The next video in the series.
No.
is
I
gonna
mean,
be-
surely
about it.
we're halfway
Find the
to
best one.
Twitter.
Find the best
the next
one.
Wazminator Tassie films. Dude, I want to see a Tassie film. Man. That
Nice
sounds
emoji.
dope.
No,
We
we're
should
gonna-
have a viewing party one night, just like a Tassie.
Alright, fellas, let's move on from Tassie films, yeah?
Alright, sorry, boss.
Yeah, I think
Sorry.
the Beach151 has a really good question to kind of bring us back on track. Is it kind of a blessing in disguise that NRS only release one game at any moment, considering the effort it would take to focus on more than one game? Like, would you focus on both if they were both relevant at the same time? MKX and Injustice, that is.
Damn, that's a good question, man. So, if they both came out at the same time, if it was just like from the first, like when MKX dropped, I just got it because I liked Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
It's just I just know it's a cool game, and I didn't have any idea about FGC or anything like that. So, if they both came out at the same time, I would definitely have just went for Mortal Kombat, because it's the same for like I didn't play Injustice 1 at all. Like I knew it existed, but I didn't even care about it because, you know, I'm not a huge like DC fan or anything like that.
Yeah.
So. But in terms of like tournament, I would definitely focus more on MKX at first. But if I dabbled with Injustice and enjoyed it, it's just pretty much what I would enjoy, to be honest.
Awesome. Well, there's something you said that really interested me there. Like when Mortal Kombat came out, you didn't even know what the FGC was. You just picked it up because it was a cool game. Do you have any advice for like maybe people watching or anything like that aren't too sure about what the FGC is and how to kind of get into that, break that gap? Because like you said, you started when MKX comes out. Now you're the best player in the country. Like that's no small feat. That's a huge accomplishment. Like that's massive.
Yeah.
To go from like no competitive background to the best. Like how do you do that? How does one do that? Is it natural talent? Is it a lot of hard work? Waz, please.
So I think it was just like starting with MKX. You know, everyone was playing a bunch of it online, and then someone just told me like hey, there's these monthly tournaments in Sydney, like you should come out to one. And as soon as I came out to one, like I didn't do that well, but it was like that was when I realized, as soon as I went to that first one, I'm like, oh, this is so sick. Like I just want to keep going now. Like that was like, as soon as I went to the first one, like I couldn't stop going. I've been to like every one since. So if you're like a new player and you're just like, you're not sure where you're at, or like you just want to level up, definitely going to your local is like the best way to do that. 100%. Like there's no other way you can get. There's no other way you can like get as good as anyone will at the top. It's like going to your locals, you know, grinding it out, playing with a bunch of other people, and don't be like afraid. A lot of people are afraid of like, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough, or I don't know how. Like, definitely, like they're like, yeah, I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't know, like I don't want to do bad. I don't want people to like make fun of me or anything. It's like everyone that's at these locals is literally there for the same reason you are, just to play fighting games. So if you're making it out there, like no one cares how good or bad you are. Like it's literally just like go out there and all level up together and like have a good time.
That's such an interesting insight into how that goes. And I kind of want to open the floor to Deadline and Steve here. So like, Deadline, what was your first inkling of like that competitive addiction that we kind of mentioned? Like, I know you played a lot of Gears of War back in the day, a bit of Counter-Strike here and there, but what was that kind of defining moment that got you from just some pub scrub to wanting to be the best?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think so. It probably started for me definitely like sort of in that Gears of War area, and like I was still pretty young at the time, but you get that taste.
3 years old.
Yeah, dude, a whopping 3, man, when that Gears 1 came out. Nah, look, when you get that first taste of competitive like the games, just even if it is just like ranked or like just a matchmaking or anything like that, you have that passion for the game, and that's shown just about in every esport title even today, right? It's like, look, you can offer me all these things in the world, but what cares to me the most right now is playing this game and being the best at it. And I definitely felt that vibe with Gears. And yeah, I mean, it's just, it was more about how willing you are to go to do that. So, I mean, it was a pretty interesting point as well with like Waz as well, because Gears for me, or for, you know, most games in that respect as well, like Counter-Strike, most of that's just all done online. But like the FGC, there's a lot of the bread and butter of it is actually like going to these locals, right? So I find that a pretty cool distinction as well.
Well,
I mean, and I'd love to hear from you as well, Steve.
Just going and touching on what Deadline just said with like how it has to be kind of offline in a sense. With like Counter-Strike, a lot of players play at like 40 ping or whatever, which is equivalent of like 4 or 5 frames in a fighting game. Fighting games are fixed 60 frames per second, right? Okay. And the games are designed around that. So each frame is about 60 milliseconds. You take that out to be about 4 or 5 frames at 40 millisecond. And even like Kiwi players that play at like 90 millisecond, right? Which seems insane to me. Or even if you're like from Perth or something like that, that would be like double that, right? Yeah. So like 8, 9 frames. In fighting games, 3 frames, or some fighting games, 3 frames is like a very long time, and 5 frames is even longer, right? So you have to have that like super low latency environment where you're like sub 20 millisecond for it to hold its competitive integrity. Because like you can be like, I reacted fast enough and I just missed the shot. That kind of sucks in latency, sure, but there's like netcode around it to like balance it out. But with like fighting games, it's like the entire core of the game is designed around those frames that you missed.
Yeah.
Well, that even goes back to like again, the passion or the love for the game. You want the most competitive environment. You want the most, you know, raw version of the game. And if there's also other things with like fighting games that you miss if you don't play in an offline environment, which is like, it's like online environment has that like that trash talk kind of stuff where people will say whatever they want because they're not in front of each other face to face. But like when I was playing fighting games in the arcade, it's like you want to say something to him, you have to look at him and be like, you are crap, or something.
Dude, that
far worse. And you have to back up your own words, because if you can't do that, you can't point at him, stand over him on the arcade cabinet or something aggressive like that. He's going to stand up and he's going to be bigger than you, and you're going to be like, or you know, he would have had a bad day somewhere at work, and you know, some bad stuff happens. You got to be committed to your words. So if you're going to speak up, just remember.
Coach lessons from Steve, man. Look at that.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember back in the
people.
Gears days,
it pays to be nice.
was a very big trash talker. He was very big online trash talker. The first LAN, we all got to meet him. He's this like 16-year-old little kid, blonde mullet, can barely string a sentence together, man. And here he is. Everyone's like, grown man, like, oi mate, heard you were talking smack online. Oh, nice to meet ya. Mild-mannered, polite.
It's got like the
my hand just crushes it like, that didn't hurt. Tears rolling
Limp
down.
fish, man.
Oh, dude. That's funny. But yeah, I remember like for me it was back in Gears of War, like Deadline mentioned. We were playing Gears of War 1, just playing some ranked games, and I was stomping some noobs in pub, and then these guys like send me a message like, oh, clan battle us. We're the second best clan on Aussie Xbox.
Right.
And I think to myself like, the hell's a clan? What the hell's Aussie Xbox? I've never heard of this stuff in my life. And then like, I'm putting these kids in the earth, man. They're easy. It's nothing. I'm thinking this is the second highest ranked team. Like what's going on here? So I got the boys together, and since then it was just like
Rest is history, mate.
hooks.
Rest is history.
Can't get enough. Now I'm too old and washed up with no time to be any good at games. So we get kids like Wazminator, who just has still's got those thumbs, man, to be the competitors for.
I don't have arthritis.
Yeah, dude. Arm doesn't get sore after one round of Dragon Ball.
For sure.
Oh, how fun!
So
But no,
we
it's
got
been
any other questions for Waz in the chat? A bunch of the guys are talking about the merch that we have currently. If you go to darksided.pro/store, we've got jersey pre-orders going. And I went in the other day. Oh boy, everyone's repping. Even me and Deadline got the t-shirts. These shirts are down to $20. Like, we can't get them any cheaper. If you don't buy them now, I feel like it's only going to get more expensive in the future. Because
There's that arthritis in.
yeah.
Yeah, my knees.
Go check it out. There's a bunch of items on sale, and we've got the pre-orders going. The jerseys are pretty cool. I think they're pretty cool. And the t-shirts are comfy. So
Yeah.
check it out.
I love that much. But no, it's been a
Oil yourself.
great week. Great week for DS. Got a lot of cool stuff done as well, with some cool stuff on the way. Another great podcast, I reckon, Waz. It's been a pleasure to have you on. We're about at time right now, but no, I really think you gave us a lot of great insight into not only the Injustice scene, but also the history of MK and how you went from that, the transitional period, a little more insight into the history of you, not only as a player, but as a streamer and a person. So it's been great to have you on.
Yeah, it's been really good. I'm happy I finally got the chance to make it on.
We got you off the bench.
Yep.
You got
Yeah,
me, man.
you
I was
were
benched.
lucky.
I was benched. I'm like, damn, I'm not making it on ever again, boys. That was my chance.
Actually, I was so sad when you made the bench, and I was like, "Oh man, he's never gonna get out of here." It's like the Shadow Realm, like no one comes back from that.
Yep.
But he managed to get out. I don't know how he did it, but he managed to get out.
Dude, I love Wazminator.
I
I'd
don't know,
never
man.
keep him on the bench forever.
That's all.
But before we head off, Matt, Steve, any parting questions for Mr. Wazminator while we have him? He's a very busy man. He's got a shock schedule. He's got to get back to streaming, getting them sub dollars.
Oh. What other games have you been playing recently that you've been enjoying?
I literally just played Injustice, Street Fighter, and Mortal Kombat. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't really
That's
play
it?
much else. I've been
Any
playing
Dragon
Fortnite
Ball?
actually a bunch. No Dragon Ball really. I've
Really?
been playing Fortnite a bunch actually.
Here we go.
It's pretty fun just to chill out and play that game. It's a pretty good game, I feel. PUBG as well. I play that a little bit, but that's pretty much it. Mainly just Injustice at the moment.
Cool. I actually had one more question which I put together.
Yeah,
I'm going to jump in front of Deadline here. So I put this on our Reddit, our subreddit that we just recently put together. I know you're a big Simpsons fan. You got like the Simpsons emotes
Here
in
we
your
go.
Twitch.
Mhm.
So we've got Deadline, Westy, and Max, and yourself, right? So 4 people.
Yep.
Which 4 Simpsons characters best align with these people? So we'll start with like Westy. If you had to pick a character,
Oh, that's hard, man.
is it?
I can't even. Westy? Is there an obvious one?
Can I have a crack?
All right, throw
Alright,
it.
jump in.
Dude,
is
he's
Max's
like
wheelhouse,
he's like a Ralph, man.
Ralph
He's a bit of
Wiggum?
a Ralph. Yeah,
Is he a
dude.
Ralph?
He's a bit of a Ralph.
I feel like he's not a Ralph. I feel like he's a
you
bit
haven't-
more,
you don't
a
know
bit
him.
more
You haven't
intelligent
known
than a
him as long
Ralph.
as- You haven't known him as long as I
Alright,
have.
so what
man. That
about
kid's a
Deadline?
Ralph.
What about
Deadline's like Mole Man, dude. He's like.
No, what's that? Wendell. Isn't his name Wendell? Do you know Wendell? Do
Wendell.
you know which kid Wendell is?
I cannot.
No.
Oh, I know
Dude,
which one you're talking about. Yeah, he is Wendell.
Google
Oh, shit,
Wendell
boys.
from
No,
Simpsons.
I know you're talking about.
Alright, is
Yeah,
that
Deadline's Wendell, man.
What's going
Bring
on?
up Wendell.
Yeah,
wanna
I think I know
bring
you're
up
talking
Wendell
about.
right now.
Yes, he is so Wendell.
Yeah, dude, he's
I didn't even
Wendell.
think of Wendell. Oh my god, he's definitely
Yeah,
Max
Wendell.
coming
I
in
guess
with
you're
like
right. I get you right. So
going with the
one last one.
sleeper
I
pick.
won't make you pick yourself. I won't make you do your own. But all right, so you
I'm
have to
pretty
pick one for
open,
Max.
alright.
You have to pick one for Max.
Be kind.
Flanders?
Flanders.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
I think Max is a Flanders.
I would have gone with like
Flanders.
Nelson.
Yeah, I would
Nah.
go with Nelson too,
Or-
dude.
Actually,
possibly,
I'm going with the
Who's the
Flanders.
who's the convict?
Oh,
Snake.
Premium,
Sideshow Bob.
dude. Premium. Nah,
Yeah,
not
Snake.
Sideshow Bob.
Oh, Snake.
Snake.
I'm giving him a Flanders. He's gonna cover Flanders for me.
Oh,
Flanders. All right.
You know, because
well,
Max has that ability to switch on and off from like overly enthusiastic to like chill, and I feel like that's Flanders in like a character. That's just exactly what he is. I feel like that's Flanders.
yeah,
And-
he's like
and for
Flanders
special-
without the Christian tone.
Yeah, he's
And the
like
muscle-
non-religious
and the
Flanders.
friendly.
Yeah, the Flanders that like snaps, right?
Oh,
That's-
when
Yeah,
his house
man.
breaks down, everyone tries to come and repair
Yeah.
it, man. Bring it on everyone for their help and like good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can see
Oh my
myself as
God.
insane Flanders.
yeah. We'll go with that. Insane Flanders.
That's ultra
Alright.
instant Flanders.
And I noticed Steve left someone out of that lineup. So who's Steve?
Oh,
who
Benji?
do we have for Steve?
Oh, me.
You,
Come
brother.
on,
Hey,
left
don't be
himself
trying to
out.
avoid this.
All right, you
There's-
boys are gonna have to
I
jump
know
in.
the character that he is.
Professor Frink.
I know the character that Steve is. So if you guys can get it,
I definitely
Why don't
can't.
I'll
tweet
put
us?
this
Why
in the
don't-
chat
why
as
don't
well,
you
man.
tweet
If someone
us?
gets this in the chat, I'll buy them a T-shirt.
Oh,
Ooh.
damn.
Alright,
we got
alright, let's do
t-shirt.
that. Let's do
Is in
that.
the chat.
All right,
I'll buy him a
you can guess
T-shirt.
that.
So
What
you guys
Simpsons
keep going
character?
because we'll have about 20 seconds of delays. But Steve is a very specific character.
Am I?
Damn, you already got that on lock, man.
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
even.
What happens if
can't
I
even-
guess it? What happens if I
You
guess
get-
it?
I mean,
Then you have to buy someone
You
in
know
charity.
who you are because we joke about it all the time.
Do we?
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
Dude,
I know. There's no way anyone gets this. This is
Exactly. That's why I don't
this is
mind.
a
betting
very
something on
loaded
it.
question. Let's cut
How
it.
about this? How about this? I'll buy a T-shirt. Best one. Best one.
Who knows, man?
All right.
If we agree on the best Steve.
Lenny,
Simpson
it's
character,
no
I'll
way
buy
it's
them.
Lenny. It's definitely
It
not
wasn't
Lenny.
Lenny. It
Definitely
wasn't
not
Lenny.
Lenny.
Not even
No
close.
way.
Steve's not a Lenny. Steve's definitely not a Lenny.
Damn.
Isn't that the Lenny?
I'm
The Lenny
actually
pose when he's at the
Yeah. Wait, I got that. Hold up. I got that.
You got that? Right. It's your remote, right?
$25 one. Waylon
Yeah.
Smithers. Steve could be a bit of a Smithers.
He could be a bit of a
Dude,
Smithers,
I could
eh?
see Steve as a Smithers.
Doesn't he have glasses?
Got that-
Doesn't he
that-
have glasses?
Yeah, dude.
Passivity about him, you know?
Skinner.
Kind
Skinner.
guy.
Principal Skinner. Oh,
Even Skinner. Wait.
A bit of a Skinner, eh?
He's definitely.
Yeah,
he's
dude.
definitely
I
on
think
some
we might have a
Skinner
winner.
day. Yeah, I'm
winner,
gonna go.
Skinner.
So we're gonna have to get a T-shirt for
Oh.
Burnout.
Dude, Burnout
Right, so
Crisis.
you
man.
want to tell them the character you had in mind, the one that no one's gonna get.
It's an episode of Simpsons where Homer goes to like New York or wherever
It was
to get
World Trade
It was
Center.
World Trade Center. That's right. It was World Trade Center, and he went there to get his car unlocked or something. I don't remember the exact
Yeah.
premise, but he's with what?
His car gets locked up. He's there for taxes.
Oh, here we
Yeah,
go.
and he's
he's tax
hungry and he
refund.
can't leave his car. And he's really hungry. There's only like a food vendor there, and he's selling Krav Kalash. Get your Krav Kalash.
So there's
He's
a
the
Middle
Krav
Eastern
Kalash.
That's so
vendor.
specific.
They go, stick, no balls, stick. and
Can I get one bowl of that?
so
Come on,
that's,
only stick.
that's like one of our in jokes or our in memes with management. It's the stick.
Oh,
That's
but
so
I'll accept
specific,
Skinner.
man.
I'll accept Skinner, dude.
Yeah. Skinner is a
Man,
good one.
Crisis, you were about like 0.3 seconds off, man. But that's gonna go to Burnout. Burnout, mate. Send me your address. I'll give you.
Oh,
DS
no.
station.
All right, how about we get one each?
Eat one each, dude. I can rock it. I can make that happen,
Damn, he's splashing, boys.
that-
He's splashing.
dude.
It's pretty close.
We
You
own
can't,
it. We
you
own
can't
it.
do that.
It was
Esports
a bit like
talk, man.
6
We're
seconds.
rolling in money.
Oh, yeah.
I can't see it, but yeah. Anyway, all right. So this has been a great podcast. Thanks for coming on, Waz. I hope you had fun. It seems
That was a
like
lot
you
of
had fun. There's a lot of
That was so
questions.
fun.
We're getting into
I like
figures,
that.
boys. Gotta close this down.
Alright,
Shut
alright.
it down.
Look, we want to thank you all for tuning in to our 4th episode of the podcast. Remember to tweet Matthew Westfall or your get well soon messages, so we all hope he feels better for next week. From the bottom of our hearts, Matt, Steve, Wazminator, and Rogi, we thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.